A cloud of discouragement has settled over this affluent North Dallas neighborhood near the intersection of Forest Lane and Hillcrest with yesterday's Dallas City Council decision to allow Electronic Data Services to build their corporate headquarters in what used to be a golf course across Forest Lane from this location. The decision came after a year of indecision on the part of the council, after a year of arguing between homeowners and Electronic Data Services. Homeowners still aren't resolved to having an office building in what used to be a golf course, and one of those homeowners, Lawrence Herkimer, told me how he feels about it now.
Just like in most in democratic society, I guess we figure we fought a good battle and we lost, and so now I guess we better get together and be neighbors with him. We had our principles and he had his, and I think now that he's got the zoning that we're going to rely on Mr. Perot to keep his word with the neighbors about keeping a beautiful place and interfering with the neighborhood activity as little as possible.
Those conditions include a 20-year deed restriction on the property. That is to say, EDS has agreed that at least the fringes of their corporate headquarters will remain a golf course for 20 years. EDS has also agreed to dedicate and pave streets through the property. But Hillcrest itself remains a point of contention. As it stands now, part of the property along Hillcrest will have to be dedicated for the widening of that street. There is still no decision on whether EDS will be assessed for the paving of Hillcrest or whether they will have access to Hillcrest. Until then, property owners are still dissatisfied, and EDS is not at all sure it's satisfied with the decision either. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News in North Dallas.
Well, the way I interpret it, it can be multi-member districts, but the multi-member districts cannot infringe upon the minority groups or political minorities or things of this sort, which is one of the things that's been condemned by the Supreme Court. But multi-member districts, as such, per se, we call it in law, are not illegal.
But as a matter of philosophy, isn't a single-member district the easiest way to prevent discrimination?
Well, I just really couldn't answer that. That might be one of the best ways, but on the other hand, that's not sometimes not the easiest way to apportion a state. When you apportion a state, it has to be, everything has to come out equal.
A number of questions have been raised about House Speaker Gus Mutcher serving on this board. Does that disturb you?
No, sir. As far as our law is concerned, it's always been the same. There's no change on that. A man that has been indicted for something, an indictment is a process to bring a person before court and to subject him to trial, but it's certainly no, under our law, is no evidence of guilt. That's what we have to look at it from law.
Was your investigation here limited to the aspects of the stock scandal that you did return indictments to?
That's correct, yes, sir.
In other words, you would not be able to speculate whether other grand juries might have other information that could result?
No, we don't know about that.
Do you feel that the grand jury system in Texas, as it operates now, is a proper way of investigating these matters, or should it be limited to these investigations and not have to deal with the routine matters?
Oh, well, this is something unusual for me, but I think this is the best system that we could get. I think it's the fairest system.
Members of the news media got its first look at the brand new airplane in a class all by itself, about halfway between a 707 and a 747. It's called the DC-10. Its squatty body and 3 engines, one under each wing, and the third right in the tail, has made it an airplane all by itself and unique. But the main thing the people like about this aircraft is that it's real quiet. It's called the Good Neighbor airplane. It's smoke-free and very quiet, as you can tell, and it took off not 100 yards from where we were standing. As I said, this is the first look that a lot of people have had at the DC-10. It's a little bit wider, not quite as long as a 747. The wingspan is about 5 feet less. The DC-10, a beautiful aircraft taking news media on its first ride in there. I think now you can see why they call it the Good Neighbor airplane. It is much quieter. It is smoke-free. Jerry Park with a look at the DC-10 for Channel 8 News on the move at Greater Southwest International Airport.
The House Redistricting Commission is ready to get on with the job of drawing House districts, in addition to Senate districts, a job it already had. In the wake of a ruling late yesterday by the Texas Supreme Court, Attorney General Crawford Martin, chairman of the commission, called the first hearing on House districts for Thursday morning. He also said that his entire Attorney General staff will be working primarily on redistricting for the next several weeks. The major controversy the commission has to settle, particularly regarding Dallas County, is whether to use multi-member districts or to give each House member his own district. Meanwhile, there is still no word from the west end of the Capitol building, where House Speaker Gus Mutcher continues meeting with friends, staff members, and attorneys and trying to decide what to do and when to announce what he's going to do in regard to the possibility of stepping down as Speaker and assigning the duties of that office to an interim Speaker pro tempore. Also, meanwhile, rumbles continue that something should be settled quickly, and there also continue to be rumors that impeachment proceedings may be imminent. This is Rosser McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move at the State Capitol Building in Austin. In your final report, the grand jury mentioned the fact that some lawmakers were more interested in turning a fast buck than they had been in some of the more serious business they were elected for. Does this refer to lawmakers other than those that were specifically indicted?
No, we're just speaking about those who indicted,
Your investigation included more than those people, didn't it?
Oh, yes,
But those are the only ones that you felt like that were not doing their jobs properly?
That's right, yes, sir.
You did look into the possibility of leaks from within the district attorney's staff?
We investigated everything we could investigate.
And what were your findings regarding the district attorney's staff?
We couldn't find any leaks coming out of the district attorneys. We don't know how it came out.
Game, I just feel very bad about what's happened to me personally, but as a team, we're doing very well, and that's the most important thing right now.
Roger, it was obvious that you did get hit after the pass was thrown. Do you have any comment to make on the circumstances under which you had to leave the game in Philadelphia?
Well, he hit me with a real good shot. I saw it on the film. I remember throwing the ball, and that was the last I remember. And seeing the film, of course, he hit me with a forearm right side of the head, and just like a knockout blow. That's I guess, unfortunately, part of the game, and something that really shouldn't happen, but it did.
Who was it that hit you?
It was number 99, Mel Tom of the Eagles.
Well, I don't suppose there was any conversation between the two of you after the game in the way of an apology at all.
No, I didn't know who hit me, and our players didn't even know because they followed the ball downfield, and the next thing they saw was me just laying on the ground, and I tried to get up and fell down again. So they really didn't know who hit me. It was speculation it was Pettigrew and different people. So they didn't know until they saw the film.
Raj, how do you assess your position now? Do you feel within your own self that you've fallen so far behind you can't catch up?
Well, I'm definitely behind. Craig has had two, very fine football games. He's completing 70% of his passes, and of course, I knew this could happen. I know he's a very fine athlete and a good quarterback, and people were down on him last year, but there, wasn't a good reason for it. So I knew that if, he had the chance that he'd do what he's doing right now, especially with the, the type of team that we have. And unfortunately, I wanted to be in that position and do well, get off to the start. He's got it, and I'm just going to play the best football I can and help the team when I can, and hopefully I'll get a chance to play again.
My husband, Gary, was killed January the 1st of 1970 in the bait and tackle shop on 820. And so far, nothing's been done about what happened. The men haven't gone to trial. I've called the courthouse, and they assure me something will be done. But so far, nothing has been done. At one time, a friend told me that they had threatened me because I was trying to get them in court, get it over with, and it scared me for a while. And the children asked what happened to the men that hurt their daddy, and you can't tell them anything because I don't know anything.
We'll go with Craig Martin in this game. Of course, Craig's been doing an excellent job for us the last 2 ball games. Roger has fallen a little bit behind, for any reason other than he's just been hurt in both games. But we feel like in this game that we must go with Craig because he has been doing so well.
Does that mean the end of the 2-quarterback system at all?
No, it really doesn't yet. Our thinking is still the same. We feel like that we'll work Roger back in whenever we can to try to catch him back up again as far as playing experience, and then he will be free then to start anybody in any game after the Washington game.
Well, I just say love, peace, and happiness, or peace, love, and happiness. It really doesn't make any difference what order the words are in, as long as all 3 words are spoken out loud and clear.
It's not something that you're doing just to add a facet to your personality. This is something you really feel about, right?
Right. This is something that I've been feeling for years, and I'm real happy that I have a chance to express myself.
I noticed that when you got off the plane the other night, Herb, you walked to the front of the plane and turned around and flashed the peace sign to Tex Schramm.
Yeah, well, believe me, it wasn't planned at all. I just happened to see him sitting there, and I just, felt like giving him the peace sign. I think he understands me, and I'm sure that I understand him.
You know, when anybody does that, makes an expression of feeling such as that in our society today, automatically the connotations come to mind. Are you a political activist at all?
No, I'm not. I've never been involved in politics. Although in Philadelphia during the off season, I've been approached by different people being asked to help campaign and that kind of thing. But I just don't get involved. The last time I was involved was with Robert Kennedy. I was on the campaign trail with him, and after that, I just decided that was enough for me.
You are a political animal, though. You're not apolitical, are you?
No, I'm sure. I don't.
Okay, let's talk football a little bit. It had to be a special thrill for you, first of all, performing in your hometown last week, and I understand your mother was also there.
Yes, and it was really nice to perform well in front of my mom, and plus being home in Philadelphia, I have a lot of close friends there, and I have quite a few friends that play with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't want them to be saying anything to me during the off season, so now I can just relax, until we get them down to Cotton Bowl and have to repeat my performance.
That was a bit of a physical ball game, wasn't it?
Well, I tell you, Philadelphia, they're not that bad. They really, they come to play, and it's just a few spots that they're weak in, a few positions. And when they get some people in there at a few key positions, they're going to be a fine football team.
Herb, be candid. Is one of those spots quarterback?
Well, I would think so, because I think Lisk and Arrington both have a long ways to come. I think mainly reading defenses. When they drop back, they're looking around and not sure what the defense is doing. As a result, they throw quite a few interceptions.
The City of Dallas says it's going to proceed with all possible speed now to get the remaining 40 condemnation cases into court from this area near Fair Park, which was slated for parking expansion for the State Fair. Trial of those cases has been halted for up to 2 years, while a group of homeowners in this tract of several square blocks appealed the condemnation law. Of course, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court has upheld the city's right to condemn the property for added parking space, but the homeowners have indicated they'll appeal the case even further in the court system. Still, city attorneys say they're going to press to get at least some of the pending cases before a condemnation judge. Meanwhile, homeowners who have complained for 2 years that the city's prices for their homes are too low are sitting tight. The city has already acquired much of the land adjacent to Fair Park. Much of it has been cleared. Some is in the process of being cleared. While it's waiting for a decision, the Park Department has even installed some temporary playgrounds in this area. There's no possibility, of course, that the parking expansion will be ready for the 1971 State Fair, which is only days away. Perhaps next year. This is Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move, at the corner of Fitzhugh and Exposition in South Dallas.
Dr. Wade is here to talk about the goals of his department and plans to bring services for the mentally retarded to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He may well get into some controversial conversation while he's here. The State Health Department plans to design and build 3 more large facilities in the state, similar to the one at Denton. So far, plans are for one at Corpus Christi, one at Brenham, and one somewhere around here. They've talked to people at Hillsborough, at Waxahachie, at Cleburne, at Grand Prairie, and at Arlington. The facility, which would ultimately be built here, would house 1,500 patients when it's completed, and that's a matter which greatly concerns some of the local groups which deal with mentally retarded children. They'd prefer to see smaller facilities with more outpatient care for the people who come there. The state officials say that the larger hospital is necessary because there are so many children already on waiting lists. Children, some of them have been on waiting lists for 2 or 3 years. They need to be placed in state facilities as soon as possible. And so the officials say that while they too would rather have the smaller facilities and the greater outpatient capability, they feel it is absolutely imperative that they come up with large facilities, someplace to put the people on the lists now. The proposals that they are making to the local officials as they go around the state polling possible places to build the buildings are these. They want between 200 and 250 acres of land donated for the site of the hospital. They want the facilities to be able to handle the 1,500 patients, telephones, electricity, water supplies, and they want to be able to begin construction as soon as the funding becomes available, and that, they say, should be almost exactly 1 year from now. When the hospital is built, wherever it is built, it will ultimately be worth about $20 million. It will ultimately hire about 800 staff members, and it will pump about $7 million per year into the economy of the city where it is located. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News on the Move, Dallas.
None of the 15 members, as far as I know of, asked particularly to be on this trial committee. They were appointed by the judge as an attendant to this court. And I think if we're going to go out and ask citizens of Dallas to be law-abiding, that we need to exhibit it right here in this board. I think we can find one somewhere, even if it means cutting out folks.
Due to the shortness of time, Rosser, it's impossible for the people of Dallas County to make an adequate presentation of the evidence that I think the board should hear. There were 302 witnesses who testified in Dallas, and I think a number of people would like to present facts and statistics before the board, and if we had over the weekend, well, we'd have time to do it. Secondly, Speaker Mutcher has not yet resigned his position as Speaker and as a member of the Legislative Redistricting Board, and I think I have requested that he withdraw himself from the board, and I think as long as he participates as a member of that board, that it will taint the actions of the board. He now is under a bribery indictment, as you know, and redistricting, one reason why the board is now faced with the problem of redistricting is because of Mutcher's vindicative action during the last legislative session.
This failure of leadership has brought us to a crisis of public confidence in Texas government. This time, the people of Texas must have a clear choice between honest and independent leadership and the kind of irresponsible leadership which has brought us to our present state of affairs. Therefore, I will be a candidate for governor in the Democratic primary next month, and I will work for a program of genuine reform to restore to Texas government honesty and integrity which the people have a right to expect and demand.
As much as we might wish it to be otherwise, after careful review of all facets of our budget, after making a program review of the various components included in our budget, we regret to inform you that there are no local funds available for this particular purpose at this time.
You mean ad valorem tax fund?
That's right. As you well know, because you spent many hours on this budget, we are on a tight budget, tight fiscal year operation. We cut out in excess of $1 million out of our original budget in order to come to this board without a request for a tax increase.
Dr. Weibel, why is the university against Mr. Harris coming to the campus?
Well, basically, on Mr. Harris, it is based on the fact that we do not think as a university that we should give a platform to one who would possibly advocate the breaking of laws as a means of reaching a particular end. And we have reason to feel that this might happen with Mr. Harris, and we have not been given any assurances up to this point that it would not be his posture. We have many speakers that come that are never turned down. We do have some that have been turned down, and it's at this point, where do you draw the line? Somewhere short of saying just anything goes, I think.
We're dealing with, it seems in the past, with a crisis-to-crisis incident. Everyone is very upset at the time when a speaker is denied. It kind of cools off, and then when another speaker is denied, everyone gets upset again. And I think this has become, in my opinion, kind of the testing ground for the speaker policy at TCU.
Place. I have requested in a wire to him today that he not only step down as Speaker and as a member of this legislative board, but also that he refrain from choosing a successor. I think it's wrong in principle if for him to participate further in the board. If he's not qualified to serve, certainly this indictment also disqualifies him to participate in the selection of his successor, and in effect have one of the Mutcher boys sit in his place and let him participate in absentia.